Hi, we're out on a range today, not our range, but a range. And recently we did a presentation on my top 5 tips for surviving a citizen-involved self-defense shooting. And the first one was avoid the situation if you can. The second one was make sure you have your firearm readily accessible, like on you. And the third one was to do training that's going to be beneficial for that type of shooting. And I showed a couple of techniques. Well, today I want to expand on that and show you 2 more techniques. And it comes with a couple of caveats, such as, first, the things I'm going to demonstrate might look like they're kind of low budget. That's because they are. I'm trying to show techniques that most people would have the resources to do. Secondly, please remember that although I might say this is what you should do and this is what might help you, in no way is today's presentation intended to be a tutorial. I'm just showing some techniques that help me. Okay, let's take a look at a target. Now here's a target that's going to be similar to what a lot of people are using for this type of training. And you see how I've cut some parts off at the top? I'll explain why in just a moment. These type of targets can be very useful, but it has, in my opinion, 2 major problems. One, this nice high visibility aiming point in the center is, in my opinion, a little too low. It should really be up about there. The other problem is this nice high visibility aiming point in the center. Most of the time your target isn't going to have a really good target on it. So let's see if I can do something to fix these 2 situations. So I fixed the first problem, the location of the aiming point, by using this Birchwood Casey shoot and see target and moving it up a little so the aiming point is higher. However, in doing that, I've created a new problem. Let me show you what I mean. And we have a reasonably good group and 1 flyer. The thing is, these types of shoot and see targets have 2 main purposes. One, in this type of format, to allow you, the viewing audience, to see the shot holes a little more easily. And 2, for the shooter to get instant feedback. So you see we have a fairly good group and 1 flyer. Instead of walking up here after the group is shot and wondering what happened there, I know it as soon as it happens so I can better assess what I did wrong. These can be highly useful. However, for this drill, what happens is, first, it still has an aiming point on it, and secondly, the shooter gets so caught up in watching their bullets hit that instead of completing the drill, when they get the flyer, they're kind of, wait, what happened there? That isn't what you want to be concentrating on this type of training. So, how can we get rid of our aiming point and not have the instant feedback, but still have the feedback later when we need to assess how the drill went? Let me show you something. Now our target has a new shoot and see, and he's wearing a t-shirt, so I can no longer see that nice aiming point. So now I'll go back 7 yards, do a few 2-shot drills, and we'll see how big my group is and where the group is when I don't have such a well-defined aiming point. So I've got the target set up at 7 yards, and I'm going to do some 2-shot drills with my Beretta M922. So the first shot will be double action, the second shot will be single action. And with no well-defined aiming point, let's see how we do in terms of size of group and location of group. Now, let's go forward and take a look at the target. And here's our group. These 2, a little lower than I'd like. But how are these in terms of where we should really be hitting the target? Let's find out. And we see not too bad. These 2 that are low are still not too bad. So I think drills like this can be effective. Now, one thing we have to remember is that you can't use the same t-shirt very long or all these shot holes will become an aiming point. Now, let's try something else. Now I want to demonstrate something that may have other names, but I call it reactionary target follow-on firing. Now I just bought this cube moving target thing today, shot it about 10 times, and I gotta say I'm not that impressed with it. But the idea is you throw this out on the ground, and when you shoot it, it moves. So each time you fire and it moves, you have to acquire a new target. And each time it will hopefully be facing you in a little bit different direction, so it won't be so static. Let's give it a try. And that's why I wasn't that impressed with it, was because it doesn't move very much. I had more difficulty in acquiring a new sight picture because of the dust than I did of the moving target. So you might want to try something that is a little more reactionary. Now what some people will use for that type of drill is some kind of beverage container, a pop can, something like that. And of course, this being recyclable plastic, after I shoot it a few times, I'll still be able to recycle it. But I have to say, if you're going to shoot things like this, you've got to pick up your litter. Okay, let's try it with this and see if this works any better than that expensive target I just bought. Okay, maybe that was a little too reactive. Okay, let's try that again. So what you decide to use as a reactionary target will dictate just how much reaction you get. Now, an important thing to remember when shooting things like this, often when you get a really good direct hit, it's just flimsy plastic. The bullet goes through, and that's when you get your least amount of reaction. Now, another thing you can do with things like this is turn it into a two-person drill and do two-man follow-on firing. So we throw it out here, one person shoots, and then the other person has to react to that person's shot, and we just trade shots. Let's see how well that works out. And there you have it, a couple of drills that I find useful, specifically on the topic of training for surviving a citizen-involved self-defense shooting. Now, if you have other drills that you find useful, I'd love to hear about them. And as always, don't try this at home on what you call a professional. Thanks for watching, and please remember to pick up your garbage.